Hello and welcome to my companion video for the Strategic Planning Workbook that you've now received from my newsletter. First and foremost, thank you so much for being a newsletter subscriber. Hopefully you see some value in these newsletters, and if you do, please tell somebody else. Please tell me, because that's like I'm always posting into the ether. But yeah, more importantly, tell somebody else, because as we know, in a service-based business of a high value like our businesses, the more referrals you get from trusted sources, the better. And I don't need very many of them to sustain my business over the course of this next year. But what I wanted to do today is to show you this workbook. And this is the workbook that I will be sharing with my own clients, current clients in January, so that they can start to plan their own strategic goals and ambitions for 2025. But you can have it as well, because you can go through this yourself. As long as you'll hold yourself accountable to actioning the things that you need to action, this can be a really valuable tool. And if you don't work with me already, you can ask me to hold you accountable, and we can talk about that separately. But what I'm going to do is I want to go through this document and show you, or explain to you, how I would fill it in from my perspective, what I'm looking for, what I'm thinking about when each of these different fields are being filled in, so that you can then use it for yourself or take the elements that work for you and build out your own strategic plan. And if that works for you, fantastic. What I'll do then now is just going to click into here and look at this. This is page 1 or page 2 and 3 of the document. But all of these can be typed on. They're fully interactive. Doesn't send the data anywhere else. It just saves it for you. So this is all for you guys and your eyes only. But when I'm looking at this vision and goals, now what's going on here? The plan here is to look at your long-term business vision. Where do you want the business to go in the next 3 to 5 years? And if we can quantify that or understand that, we can start to look at, well, what that third year plan looks like, that second year plan looks like, and ultimately what the next 12 months looks like. And that's what I'm looking at today. So what do you want for the business? Do you want more money? Do you want more freedom? Do you want both? You can have all of that, as long as you plan and implement the tasks and actions that you need to do to achieve those. Then we need to look at the principles that guide our decisions and our actions. Like, I know what those are for my business. Trust, quality of service, and outcomes. Those are the things that I want to focus on. What does that look like for your business? And then we need to look at the market position of your business. Where your business was yesterday is not the same as where it is today, and it will not be the same as the market that it operates in 3 to 5 years from now. What does that look like? What do the competitors, what does our differentiation of the competitors, what makes us different from them? And that's actually an older document, because this has changed. And who is our target client? Who is our ideal client persona? That will actually say there in the newer document version. Then we look at our strategic goals. I predominantly look at financial goals as my measure of success. In the past, it was freedom. What gave me the freedom in my business to go and explore other things? And before that, it was money again. So it doesn't matter what your goals are, but you need to be able to quantify them. So you could actually change this. But for me and the majority of my clients in service-based businesses today, their financial goals of revenue and profit, and maybe optimization of team or capacity, or the amount of time that they spend in the business, service metrics, quality and efficiency and innovation. What do they look like for your business? And then it is into the organizational development. What does team structure look like? Skill development, what does that look like? And how do you do that? How do you focus on culture and retention of your staff? Or what systems and processes do you need to put into your business? You've heard this a lot from me, to actually remove yourself from the business. Those are all key metrics that you can then start to consider as part of your strategic goals for next year. And then when you've considered all of those things, we need to break down the 4 quarters: January to March, April to June, July to September, and then October to December. And we want to look at the strategic initiatives that will help us achieve our goals. We want to look at the projects that will help us achieve our goals. We need to look at resource allocation that will help us achieve our goals. And we need to be able to quantify what that looks like on the other side and what success looks like. And if you can do all of those things, and you can consider all of those things now for the next 4 quarters, then you're in a far better position to achieve them. Now, as with any plan, this plan will not survive first contact with the real world, because as soon as you go out to market with all these great ambitions and values and plans and actions in your head, Competitors will do something, clients and staff will do something else. And it's all up in the air. However, this plan was written in a moment of calm. This plan gives you the pathway to success. And if you can always, no matter how far you go off the path, no matter what else is thrown at you, you can always come back to the plan that was written in a moment of calm, and that is the direction of travel that you will take. And I can't tell you how often that happened to us. That we were going this way and then something happened over here, divert across, and then you come back to plan because you know that is where your effort should be focused. And I then think a little bit about the quarters. Well, we have opportunity. The more work we put in Q1 in the right area, the better that will support the business over the rest of the year. So we need to focus on those tasks that will have the greatest impact over time if we focus on them first. Then you start to feed in the other tasks and systems and projects that you need to add in to then facilitate the other elements of your growth and strategic plan. And if you can do all those things over a period of time, you will start to see that compounding effect. Now, in Q4, you also then need to consider, I'm just going to scroll down here, and at this, you also need to consider next year. And if we have a look at that, I'll go back to this page again. If we look at that, what tasks will we consider in Q4 that will set us up for the following year, 2026 in this instance, for further success? And that's something you have to consider at that period of time as well. Now, resource planning, you will have to consider. How are we going to fund this? What is the budget allocation going to be? What team requirements are you going to need? What training and development and what partnerships will you have to create or develop to sustain these plans? So there are considerations outside of this you need to consider. Then you need to look at success and success. What does success look like? Monthly metrics for me would always be revenue, obviously, client satisfaction. If you're not tracking it, you should. Project completion or capacity, and team productivity. Those are key metrics in service businesses that we should all probably be looking at. And then the next element of this is that because we know that shit will happen around us, and we need to mitigate as much of that as possible. And risk management of looking at the top risks, the second risks, and all of those different things, and then creating a plan to circumnavigate them or to avoid them entirely. If you can do that now, then you'll be in a far better position as you start to implement this plan. And the most important part of all of this document is the accountability structure. Who's doing what and when? What communication looks like for each of those parties? What does reporting look like? Because we don't want to die by 100 reports every single month. And those are the things that you must do to ensure that you're accountable to yourself internally for those teams. But you need to be accountable to yourself externally, or you can use somebody like me. You can, if you're going to keep yourself accountable, that's absolutely fine, because you need to know that you can always get back on that path when you're going through this process, when something comes around you. And then the final part, just to conclude this document now, is your review schedule. What does that look like? What does your weekly check-in look like? What does a monthly review look like? And how much time and resource will you dedicate to your quarterly assessments? And if you're on track at that point, fantastic. But what happens if you're not? So these are the considerations that you should be thinking about all the way through this document and writing this document out. If you have any questions, please drop me a message on Instagram, LinkedIn, or just a reply to this email, and I'll try and answer them for you as well. And if you do need somebody to help you implement this plan next year, I can help. See you later, and hopefully you have a fantastic year.